if you're going to be a terrorist or commit crimes. And of course, some more paperwork. But in all our struggles, I doubt too many of us ever took the time to think about all the other people trying to come to the United States. Refugees, people fleeing war-torn countries, people fleeing persecution. Now, earlier I did mention that I'm a privileged immigrant. And privilege can be a dirty word, but it really shouldn't be. Privilege simply means that we exist in a playing field where there are two types of people, two parties, and one party has a little bit of an edge over the other. Does that mean that this one party that has the edge lives an astronomically better life than the other? Mostly not. It simply means that we exist in a system due to systemic issues. One type of person or party has an edge over the other. Now, think about it. How many times have you heard that this is the greatest country in the world from someone who doesn't even own a passport, has never been to another country, not even Canada, and you don't need a passport to go there? So, I understand. I'm a foreigner, and there's only so much I can say about how the US should run their immigration, or how many refugees they should accept, or anything really. So I expect the US government to do exactly as I say. No, I'm only kidding. What I can do in this beautiful, amazing, great, and free country is share my side of the story. So I'm going to do just that. I want you today to join me on a journey, a story that'll tell you why and how I came about the idea of a privileged immigrant. Not too long ago, I was studying computer engineering at Monroe Community College just down the road. And when I was at Monroe Community College, I had the opportunity, honor, and privilege of serving as the president of the student government. So one day, I was sitting in my office doing my engineering homework, and I hear a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. So I got up, and I opened the door, and there stood about a yay-high, 5'4", 5'5" guy with hair running down to his eyes, and he was really quirky and really nervous, and he said, "Hey, my name is Johnny, and are you a president of student government?" And I cockily responded, "Yeah, that would be me." And so he said, "I want to chat." And I invited him into the office, and I said, "Let's talk." So he sat down, and we had a conversation. Johnny was telling me that in his hometown, and he's from Myanmar, in his hometown, his family lives with minimal means. In fact, recent flooding had destroyed his family's farm and most of what they owned. Despite all odds, Johnny was able to get a refugee status to come to the United States. In the United States, Johnny spent 16 hours a day doing hard labor jobs like mixing cement and moving coal and sometimes even housekeeping. And after all these 16 hours of work, he would only have a little time left. What would he do in this leftover time? Well, despite working so hard, he wasn't able to pay tuition, so he would come to Monroe Community College and wander into different engineering classes and take notes and try to make sense of what's going on. That baffled me. Every time I see a lecture hall, I run the other way. In fact, even recently, I just could not go to class. And I mean, except Dr. Kwasinski's class. Sir, your class is fantastic. He's still grading the midterms. But as Johnny was telling me this, he started to tear up. He started to break down. And I looked at him and I said, "Johnny, what happened? Tell me." As tears were rolling down his cheeks, Johnny was telling me that he got a call from the authorities, and they said that his immigration status is to be revoked. They said that they thought he no longer needed it. Tears down his eyes, he said, "My biggest dream is just to wear a shirt, a tie, and pants, and go to work at some engineering firm so I can contribute through technology and engineering." A few days later, I saw Johnny again. And Johnny said all efforts had failed, and he had to return to his home country. The day Johnny got back, I got a message on WhatsApp saying, "Hey, I just got home, everything seems to be fine." I saw the message the next morning because of time difference, and I tried to text him back. There was no response. The line was dead. I tried to give him a call. Again, there was no response. The line was dead. So I panicked, and I tried to reach out to his friends to see if they could contact him. And again, all lines were dead. A few weeks later, one of the people I reached out to gave me a call and said, "Hey, I heard something about Johnny, and we need to talk." And I said, "Great, let's talk." So I saw this person, and they said that a few days after Johnny got back, a missing persons report was filed in his name. And after a few weeks of investigation, the local authorities couldn't determine where Johnny was, his whereabouts, or even his body, so they determined Johnny to be presumed dead. Now, Johnny is not alone in this quest. According to Pew Research, there are almost 500,000 F1 visas issued every year. That's a visa that I am on. And a little more than that are applied for. On the other hand, less than 1% of refugees trying to pursue an education are granted the opportunity to do so. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my definition, my interpretation, my understanding of a privileged immigrant. We have to be able to see that one party, my party, had the infrastructure, the funding, the ability to pay all these hundreds and thousands of dollars of legal fees to get the visas to come here, while the other party did not get the same opportunity to do so. Now, I want to make very clear, this is not a plea to a previous, current, or even a future administration about how they should run their immigration, or at what rate should they let refugees in, or anything along those lines. This is a conversation of recognition. We have to be able to recognize the brutal disparities that exist in our very society today. Now, Johnny's story is heartbreaking, and things didn't end well for Johnny. But I question myself, what can be done here? What can be done here? What can we do to change this? And I channeled this fuel to something productive. And with the little influence I had as president of student government, I tried to reach out to local refugees in Rochester and offer up my time to train them in basic computing skills like Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I would hang out at the MCC Math Learning Center and see if I could volunteer my time to teach basic math. Now, that's a drop in the ocean, and I understand that, but every drop counts. As we discussed, Johnny's story does not end well. Johnny does leave with me, though, a message that I plan to share on every platform I possibly can. I want to offer a challenge today, a small challenge that you should all be able to take. If there's anything in your life that you're truly passionate about, you truly care about, you truly love, be it education, and if it is education, see if you can reach out to the Rochester City School District and volunteer. If it's immigration, see if you can reach out to the immigration services and offer up your time. Or even if it's something in your life that's personal and small, and you've been meaning to change it, and you can't get around to changing it because you're afraid of what the consequences might be or what it might mean for you, do it. Do it now. Have the audacity to make that change, because complacency is tragedy. Thank you.